After 6.5 years, Hollow Knight Silksong is finally here, and I'm here to give you my first impressions of the game after about 3.5 hours. For anyone worried about spoilers, don't be. This video will be completely spoiler free and all the footage will be from the beginning of the game. So first off, this game is absolutely gorgeous, but the environments and the overall look of the game have gotten a huge upgrade in the 6.5 years since Hollow Knight, which of course in itself was gorgeous. The opening area of Silksong is lush, green and vibrant, and immediately grabs your attention with its luscious art and accompanying music, which once again is absolutely fantastic thanks to Christopher Larkin. But it still has the ominous underlayer, and the atmosphere is on point, even though it's bright and eye-catching compared to Hollow Knight's dark and overtly ominous opening. But let's talk mechanics and gameplay, shall we? The main differences between Hollow Knight and Silksong are in how Hornet controls. My fellow Pogo enjoyers, 07 for Pogoing, you'll be sad to know that it has gone to the great game mechanics graveyard in the sky, as Hornet instead has a diagonal dash that can be a little clunky at first. You definitely have mobility in the air, I would say more than the Knight, but you can't just pogo off a boss's head 15 times and make them your bitch like the Knight. Overall, Hornet feels way more acrobatic than the Knight as she leaps and spins through the air, dashing onto enemies and quickly recovering mid-air. As we've already seen in trailers and teasers, Hornet also has the ability to grab onto platforms, making the platforming feel smooth and responsive alongside everything else I previously mentioned. That's not to say there aren't some growing pains though, especially if you recently replayed the first game in preparation. Hornet definitely takes some adjustment to get used to, and initially she does feel a little clunky, but that feeling does go away as you progress through the game. But it is a bit of a mental adjustment, and she definitely controls very differently to the Knight. Overall, she feels faster, snappier, and more acrobatic and responsive than the Knight. The ability to heal 3 masks, even in mid-air, is really nice, even at the cost of Phil's Silk Bar. And it's a touch faster than the Knight's Focus Heal too. Another stark difference between this and its predecessor is the NPCs. There are so many more of them, and that's a good thing. Now of course, don't get me wrong, it made total sense for Hollow Knight to feel emptied, lonely, and the NPCs sparse. It was literally a dying world. But Farloom still has life to it, even if things are obviously unstable and not really what they seem. The NPCs so far have a ton of personality, with some wonderful animations really bringing them to life alongside their overall design. My personal favourite so far has to be Sherma, the cute singing bug who's also journeying through the Citadel, who, as you may remember, has a little cute symbol hat. Special mention to Chakra though, this game's answer to Cornifer. Speaking of personality though, Hornet makes a massive deviation by actually having one. I know, crazy. Again, it did make total sense for the Knight to be a blank canvas because, well, you know the story of that game. Makes sense, right? But it's great to see Hornet have some personality and also get a sense of why she's actually doing this, and her interaction with the NPCs. Obviously, again, also lends the NPCs a bit more personality and fleshes out Hornet as a character as well. Another way this personality shines through in her, the NPCs and even the enemies, is the fantastic animations. You can really tell there has been a huge upgrade with that too in the years since Hollow Knight's release. Each bug you encounter has a ton of little details in the animation to make them feel alive, and will even react to you if you attack near them, obviously if they're friendly, and other little attentions to detail. Of course, this attention to detail is all over Silksong, even in the early game, in everything from the backgrounds to how the moss moves under your feet. The world reacting to you in both the environment and the other bugs, enemy or friend, really work together to make this world feel like a living, breathing world. But let's go back to the mechanics for a moment. Exploration feels fluid and smooth with a ton of stuff to explore in the usual assortment of items, the rosary currency, upgrade like mask shards and more. Absolutely still has the magic that Hollow Knight had that drives you not only forward, but to explore literally every corner of the map. Can't recommend enough, by the way, to get the map and quill and compass as your first purchase from Chakra. Now, while I haven't had too much time with the tools or crests in the game, and I will not show them here, don't worry, so far they feel satisfying to use, and although the tools cost shell shards to refill benches, so far at least the cost is not punishing. Of course, it's entirely possible that more powerful tools will have a higher cost, but it's nice that the early game tools don't have too high a cost to use, either silk or shell, because obviously you have the crest which takes silk to use, and the tools which refill again with shell shards at the benches, and this encourages you, the player, to use them and experiment with your blossoming movesets. I can't wait to see what other tools and quests we get throughout the game and the different builds we can have. One thing I do want to highlight before we close out the video though is how much more challenging this game feels. Don't get me wrong, Hollow Knight can be brutally punishing at times, but most of the challenging stuff is either DLC like Grim, optional, or endgame like for example the Radiance, and that's not even mentioning stuff like Pantheon 5. But Silksong immediately ramps up the challenge in comparison to Hollow Knight, with enemies feeling more threatening with more complex movesets, and some of them have the audacity to hit for 2, which very rude by the way. In Hollow Knight, hitting for 2 was reserved for some of the game's biggest challenges, like Nightmare King Grim, but in this we not only have early game bosses hitting for 2, but even some basic enemies, and they always are designed to make it feel valid. For example, a huge bug with a sort of mallet-like bell hammer thing, he hits for 2. Tracks, right? This alone makes the enemies way more of a threat and forces the player to actually have respect for them. Outside of a few enemies like those big busts with the masks and Deep Nest, and a few others, this isn't a feeling I got all that often from the basic enemies in Hollow Knight. Makes me wonder what the endgame of Silksong is going to be like, but I just want to make myself super clear here. This at no point felt unreasonable or like an unreasonable difficulty curve. Hornet has a more complex moveset than the Knight and is way more acrobatic, so it makes sense to up the danger on the enemies and bosses too, and just generally makes Silksong feel like it's going to be more of a wall to climb. Now again, Hollow Knight was also very challenging at times, but this is putting the challenge way sooner in the game. One quick thing to add that's really nice is the fact that side quests, or wishes as they're called here, actually have a tracking system and a marker on the map, which is really nice for people like me with a crap memory, or even just people who, you know, might not be able to play that much because they have a full-time job or a family or whatever. It's a small but a really nice quality of life. You know, imagine if you started a quest in Hollow Knight and then came back 3 months later. Would you be able to remember where the NPC was without googling it? I'm going to say probably not. It's safe to say, guys, that so far I am absolutely loving the game and I barely scraped the surface. The story has only just begun to drop the first threads for the player to tug on, but there's already more than enough in the background storytelling, NPCs, and of course, most critically, the fun and engaging gameplay to keep me going as the story unfolds, and of course just loving this world and just soaking it in. Well, again, this is not a complete review, well, not even close, because I've only spent about 3.5 hours with the game. So far, Silksong feels that it will be yet another masterpiece from Team Cherry. Honestly, I felt like Expedition 33 had the Game of the Year award on lock, but if Silksong keeps this up, we might just be in for a huge steal from Team Cherry. But I'd love to hear your early thoughts on the game, but please guys, do keep them spoiler free, and oh, if you'd like me to do a full review once I'm done with the game, please do let me know, but I'm going to be taking my sweet time, so if you want that, just get your patience hats ready is all I'm saying. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, do remember to give us a like and subscribe, check out the channel, this is a brand new channel, thank you so much for watching, I'll see you next time, bye bye.